Montana Territory, 1891. The valley was quiet enough to hear the grass bend under the morning wind, but Luke Reddon rode like a man being chased by ghosts. His stallion knew the path by memory, down the ridge, across the dried gulch, and into the thicket where no cattle trail existed. Luke never spoke of where he went or why. Folks only noticed he slipped away at dawn, midday, and dusk every single day. Some called it strange. Others said he was hiding gold, but the truth was far heavier than gold and far more dangerous to speak aloud. When Luke reached the creek, the world shifted. The harsh wind softened. The rough edge in his jaw loosened. He dismounted slowly, always listening, always watching the tree line. Then he knelt beside a fallen pine, where a canvas blanket lay tucked in the shadows. Underneath was not treasure nor supplies, but a young native boy whose fragile breaths fluttered like a candle nearly gone. Luke still remembered the first day he found him, skin cold, ribs sharp, eyes swollen from fear. He wasn't supposed to survive, yet he did. The boy stirred at the sound of Luke's boots crunching through pine needles. Luke unwrapped food, a tin cup of broth, and a small pouch of poultice he'd traded for quietly in town. The boy's voice was barely more than a rasp when he whispered, "Why do you keep coming back, white man?" His eyes, too old for his young face, stared up with suspicion carved deep into them. He did not trust easily, and why should he? Luke only paused, his hands gentle as he helped the boy sit upright. "Because someone has to break the cycle," he said, the words steady but carrying a weight he rarely showed. Luke didn't tell him how he had found evidence of men hunting the child. Government scouts, bounty men, and opportunists who wanted to erase tribes resisting the new boundaries. He didn't tell him he'd buried 2 bodies the night they chased the boy onto his land. Luke only knew that once he had carried the half-dead child to safety, the responsibility had become something sacred. So he came 3 times a day, to feed him, treat him, teach him, and guard the secret with the kind of loyalty he had never offered another soul. Each ride back to the ranch, he wondered how long the world would let him keep this hidden. The answer came sooner than he wished. That morning, hidden behind juniper brush, a government surveyor watched Luke's every move. He saw the boy, saw Luke kneel and speak to him like family, saw the truth no one else in the valley even dared imagine. The surveyor's heartbeat pounded with the weight of what he'd discovered. Saving that boy meant Luke had crossed an invisible line, one that powerful men had drawn in blood. And when Luke finally rose to his feet, sensing a shift in the air, he realized he wasn't alone anymore. His secret was no longer his. By the height of summer, the Montana heat turned the valley sharp and restless. Dust lingered in the air like a warning. And word traveled faster than the river currents. Federal agents were searching for a tribal runaway boy, dangerous, defiant, and allegedly connected to resistance camps. Luke knew better. The boy he protected was no threat, just a frightened child caught in the teeth of a changing nation. But the rumors brought riders into the hills, strangers camping near the ridges, rifles glinting like predatory eyes. Every evening, Luke felt the pressure closing around his ranch, squeezing the choice he'd been avoiding. He spent long nights planning escape routes, packing saddlebags, and teaching the boy how to slip through brush without leaving tracks. But every time he imagined fleeing, he saw the boy's trembling hands, too weak for long travel, still recovering from the wounds of spring. Running would kill him. Hiding would only delay the inevitable. The boy watched Luke's worry with quiet intuition far beyond his years. One evening he finally asked, "Will they take me?" Luke crouched in front of him, brushing hair from the boy's face. "Only if I stand aside, and I won't." The boy didn't smile, but his grip on Luke's hand said everything. When the agents arrived, they came with the thunder of authority. 5 men, polished badges, and a warrant already filled out. Luke stepped off his porch before they could reach the steps. Behind him, the boy clung to his coat, small but unmoving. The lead agent dismounted, boots hitting the ground with the confidence of a man who expected obedience. "Hand him over," he barked. "That's federal law." Luke's voice was steady, deeper than usual. Some laws deserve to be broken. The yard went still as the agents exchanged looks. One reached for his rifle. Luke didn't flinch, though he knew he was outnumbered, outgunned, standing on the edge of ruin. But before the standoff ignited, the earth shook beneath the rhythm of many horses. From the far ridge, a line of riders descended, tribal elders, draped in ceremonial garments, faces carved with sorrow and resolve. They rode not in anger, but with purpose. The agents spun around, stunned. Luke felt the boy straighten at his side, hope flickering in his eyes. The elders halted a few yards away. Their leader dismounted and stepped forward, his posture dignified but weary. In a voice woven with history, he said, "We have tracked the boy, not to reclaim him, but to honor the man who shielded him when the world did not." The air shifted. The elders explained that Luke's defiance had reached distant camps, inspiring conversations they once believed impossible. They proposed something unheard of. Luke would be recognized as an ally in official negotiations, the first outsider allowed to speak on behalf of displaced tribal children. His actions had sparked a movement, a fragile bridge between two worlds tearing apart. The lead agent protested, but the presence of the elders, their documentation, and witnesses from nearby ranches placed the law in a corner it couldn't easily escape. The elder touched Luke's shoulder and said, "Your courage today will be remembered long after we are gone." Luke glanced at the boy, who stood taller now, no longer hiding behind him. The child's future, once a dying whisper beneath a pine tree, had been pulled back into the light. Under the vast Montana sky, Luke realized that his small act of kindness, repeated quietly 3 times a day, had rippled far beyond his ranch. It had changed the boy's fate, challenged the authority of men who thought themselves untouchable, and rewritten a page of history no one had intended to write. And for the first time in months, Luke felt the valley breathe freely again.